Hey, everybody, this is Kenny. Welcome back to another edition of the Leading from the Middle podcast. This is the podcast for middle managers who want to develop themselves, develop their teams, and improve their results. So, how can you start to really minimize and eventually eliminate imposter syndrome? How can you grow more confident? How do you get to know yourself even better than you do today? Well, I had a fascinating conversation with human design and visibility and leadership coach and consultant Abigail Rebecca. We talked about these topics and so many more. How do you start to really get past some of the things that might be holding you back in business? You're going to be surprised at some of the things she talked about. You don't want to miss a second of this. Let's get at it.
This episode is brought to you by Kitcaster. Kitcaster books you on top podcasts. How do funded startup founders attract prospects and talent? Podcast interviews. How do entrepreneurs with exits find new deals? Podcast interviews. How do C-suite execs differentiate in crowded markets? Podcast interviews. Kitcaster books you on top podcasts. Click the link in the show notes for a special offer. Celebrate good conversation.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to the Leading from the Middle podcast. And I told you I would get these phenomenal guests for you. And, leadership isn't just one or two different topics. It's a lot. And we've got a really, really interesting topic today. So I am going to introduce my special guest, human design and visibility, leadership coach and consultant, Abigail Rebecca has joined me today. Abigail, it is so great to meet you. How are you?
I'm really good, Kenny. Thank you so much for inviting me to be on your wonderful podcast. I'm really looking forward to our chat.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you again for joining. So I really want to find out more, and I know the audience is going to be fascinated by your background and your backstory. And I know that there's some physical things in there, a heart condition. Why don't you go ahead and tell us your backstory and what has led you now to do this work to really help leaders find themselves?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to share my story. So I guess to start at the very beginning, I was born into as a third generation Jehovah's Witness. And it was a very controlling upbringing, a very controlling organization. And it's really funny that I've kind of gone from, that suppression and not having a voice and really being heavily dictated to about what I should wear, how I should speak, who I should be friends with, who I could marry, to being a leadership coach, right?
Yeah.
And helping people to be empowered and confidently expressed. But for as long as I can remember, I feel like I didn't fit in. And I left when I was 16. I traveled all around the world. I had an incredible life. And then I came back to the UK and I built up a corporate career, and I was in a career that was very successful, and there were elements of it that I was very good at and I actually loved, but there were also a lot of elements of it that I didn't quite love so much, and I felt like I was really changing myself as a person to fit into a box, to be the type of leader that the corporation that I worked for wanted me to be instead of who I actually was. But of course, as we do, I just ignored it and worked harder. And I developed quite a serious heart condition. On 3 separate occasions, I was rushed into A&E with a heartbeat of 220. I think it should be about 70, 80.
Oh my God.
They had to do adjustments, like give me this injection that reset my heart. And it was just a really, really scary time. But I also see it as a blessing because it really gave me the opportunity to slow down and really think, okay, what do I want to do with the rest of my life? I was late 30s, early 40s at the time, and I really, really wanted to start my own business. I had a desire to start my own business. So it just gave me the opportunity to be able to do that. And then when I stepped into this dream of running my business, it was just so difficult. It was a real struggle, and I found it really difficult to find clients, and I found that I was working hard and burning myself out again. And I realized actually that I was comparing myself to others. So I was looking at other people that were successful, and I was like, right, I need to be more like them. I need to be more like them in order to succeed, in order to be successful. And it was only really when I discovered human design that I realized that we're all unique. We all have our own unique human design and the way that we work with our natural energy. And I realized that it was pointless comparing myself to others, because all I was doing was just feeling bad about myself and trying to work hard instead of actually accepting who I was. With my strengths and gifts were very different to other people's strengths and gifts, and their strengths and gifts are very different to other people's strengths and gifts, right? We're all unique. And I started to really understand my energy, my flow, what I'm here to do. And that's when things started to really kind of fall into place for me. And I was like, whoa, this is amazing. And then I decided that I was definitely going to incorporate it into my business. So now I use human design as the bedrock, really. It's the cornerstone of all the coaching and consultation that I do. I help leaders really be more confidently expressed and be more visible, aligned to their human design.
Wow. Wow, what an amazing story. And thank God your health is okay. And I love how you said, you felt like you were in a box, and you felt like you were just trying to be what the company wanted you to be. So now I'm fascinated to find out more about human design and visibility. So what exactly is human design?
Yeah, well, it's something that I feel is getting legs. It's not quite reached the mainstream yet, as maybe something like astrology would have done. But it's definitely, like, it seems to be the buzzword in the news at the moment, right? So basically, human design, the best way that I can describe it is, imagine if astrology and Miles Briggs became lovers and had a child. That would be human design.
I love that.
So it's a personality
Yes.
test, I guess. It
Okay.
gives
Yeah.
you an overview of your personality, the best way for you to work, how your energy flows, how to build relationships, how to create success aligned to your natural energy. But it's all based on your astrological chart. So your time, your birth, and your time of birth, your place of birth, and your date of birth. And what I really love about it is that it can really be used as a manual for life. You can literally take your human design and put it right on top of your business, or if you're a leader in corporation, you can literally put it over your business plan or your leadership plan, and it can become a strategy, not just for business, but also for life. And I love to use it for visibility, because there's a real one size fits all cookie cutter strategy around how we're meant to market ourselves, how we're meant to promote ourselves, how we build relationships, how we find clients. But actually what human design does is it teaches us how to do it aligned to our natural energy. So actually we don't get burnt out and we don't feel like we're hustling, and it's done with ease and flow.
So what was a turning point for you? When did you know that you knew that this was going to really help you have the success that you're seeing in yourself right now?
I think it was when I found out that I'm a projector. So there's five different types, energy types within human design. We've got manifesting generators and generators, which make up about 70% of the population. And they're kind of like the building block and the foundation of all creation, really, like the workers. If you imagine that we're kind of all working together on a project and everyone's got a role on the project, the generators and the manifesting generators are the ones that get things done. Right, they get the ball rolling, and they see it through, and they manage multiple projects. And then we've got manifestors. That's 9% of the population who are designed to initiate. So they'll be the ones that kind of start the project and then hand it over to the manifesting generators and the generators. There's also a human design type, which makes up 1% of the population, which is a reflector, which is a real unicorn, and they kind of reflect back to us, and they're like mirrors, really incredible energy. And then 20% of the population are projectors. Now, projectors aren't actually designed to work hard. They're designed to be the guides.
Okay.
So projectors make normally very good coaches or mentors, and we're not designed to hustle. We're designed to kind of work in spurts and take lots of rest periods. And that was my turning point when I realized I was a projector.
Mm.
Because when I worked in corporate, I worked very, very hard to prove myself, to be successful, to keep up with everyone else. And I didn't feel like I could keep up with people. And I used to get tired very easily, and I used to feel very drained and burnt out. And also I used to get very, very frustrated when I wasn't recognized, when people didn't see my talent. So I used to try harder, and then it was almost like my energy was being repelled. It was almost like I was kind of being a bit needy, like, look at me. And
Yeah.
nobody was recognizing me.
Uh-huh.
And I realized I was a projector, and I'm not designed to work hard. I'm not designed to hustle. I'm designed to guide. And that was the turning point for me.
Wow. So you're using the word guide. I love everything you said. You're using the word guide. Um, is that also leader, or are you using guide as really kind of intentional? Is there a difference, guide and leader?
Well, I mean, it's really intentional,
Okay.
because again, if we use human design to look at our role within the world, the role of the projector really is to support the generator and the manifesting generator.
Okay. Gotcha. Gotcha.
So
Okay.
we're here in a supportive role to support that energy type, but we are leaders. Everyone, and this is another reason why I love human design, because everyone has a different leadership style. Now I'm talking about it real top level. You can really go down the rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Seriously, if human
Yes.
design, you can really go there. But
Yes.
actually, there's a lot more kind of nuances and a lot more layers. And it's not just about the type, the energy type that you are. There's lots of different factors that really contribute to the type of leadership you are. So again, we can totally take human design and we can position it or repurpose it as it's a leadership system.
Yes. Okay. Okay. Um, I wanted to ask, because you also you said the word visibility quite a bit. And what is that? How does that fit in, visibility?
Well, even before I discovered human design, I was guiding leaders and coaches and entrepreneurial leaders to be more visible within their business. And everyone's interpretation of visibility is different, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yes.
my version of visibility might be just walking into a room and feeling confident in a room full of strangers, but your idea of visibility might be speaking on a stage to thousands, right?
Mhm.
So it's whatever our how we want to be more visible within our business, or in the world. Really, it doesn't necessarily mean that we're necessarily running a business. But visibility, in my opinion, is really going out there and being seen and heard consistently and confidently as an expert in your field. And it's about speaking up, and it's about having a voice and being noticed and recognized
Mhm.
within your industry.
Mhm.
And human design again teaches you how to do that. Human design shows you how you can be visible in your own unique way. So, for example, the way that I would work with a projector, someone like me, to be visible would be very, very different to working with another energy type, because we all have different ways in which our energy is received. It's all about relationship building, and relationship building is all about giving and receiving of energy. And human design shows us how to do that in our own unique way, and how to attract opportunities into it. So it's very much working with human design is very aligned to law of attraction and manifestation and all the abundance and success that comes from that.
Gotcha. Um, Abigail, a couple of things are coming to mind for me as you've been talking. I want to see how this can tie in and really help with a couple of things. And I was kind of new to the term imposter syndrome. Someone that I was interviewing a couple of years ago told me about that, and I was like, "Gosh, I'm sure I did feel that way. I didn't know that there was kind of a label on there." That and I run across so many leaders, especially new leaders, that really, really struggle with their confidence, especially if they have a couple of losses. How does this tie in with both? Because I'm feeling like they have to help, but how do they specifically tie in with imposter syndrome and having more confidence?
Yeah, it's a really good question, and I would I've never spoken to a single person who hasn't had imposter syndrome. To be honest with you, I think at some point we all feel less than. Am I good enough? We doubt ourselves, and I think it's what makes us human.
Yeah.
Well, I think first of all, it's sort of learning to feel that, okay, this is okay. It means that I care. It means that I care about what people think about me or say about me. I care about the job that I'm doing. But yeah, there's so many people that I speak to and that I work with who suffer from imposter syndrome, or they're worried about going out there and being too visible because they might get rejected, or they might be ridiculed, or not taken seriously. You know, the imposter syndrome thoughts of who am I to ... And I think actually a lot of that is caused by comparing ourselves to others.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
You know, like I could be like, who am I to come on a podcast and be interviewed by you and position myself as a human design and leadership expert? Who am I to say? And really, it comes down to my confidence, my own self-belief, and my own opinions of myself. And one of the things that human design really teaches us is to stop that comparison game, to stop comparing ourselves to others, and really to understand ourselves at a deeper level, and to accept ourselves, and dare I say, even love ourselves. It really is it's a beautiful tool for self-love.
Mhm.
And I think that the more that we can understand ourselves and really understand our strengths and our weaknesses, and you know, when we're not going to be good at everything, and we can embrace our gifts, and we can also, you know, not be afraid to go out and make mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes. I think the more courage that we have around that, the more that imposter syndrome fades.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. It just makes perfect sense. To that this would help with self-confidence and start to minimize, if not eliminate, the whole imposter syndrome. I want to go back to something you said before that struck me, because you said that if you take human design and now put that together with a really good business plan, that now you got something, right? You got something really cooking. So how do I know if I'm working for a corporation, a lot of my audience are, retail managers and store managers and restaurant managers. So they're getting their business plans, from kind of up above, but they could take it in. How do you now take that from the corporate world that you were in at one time and now combine, your human design, and how does that now interact with each other? How can you just make that business plan pop?
Yeah, well, I mean, this is I'm referring a lot to owning a business, running a business, but
Yeah.
of course, this is leadership, right? Like, you can be a leader in your family. You can be a leader in your family. You can be a leader in your community. You can be a leader in corporation. You can be a leader in your own business. What human design does is it really teaches us how to use our energy effectively.
Mhm.
So if I use an example of myself and how this has helped me to become a better leader. Before I knew that I was a human design projector, so I used to work really, really hard all of the time,
Mhm.
and I never used to allow myself to rest.
Mhm.
So I'd feel frazzled and burnt out all of the time. What did that result in? Well, when I was working in corporate, it meant that I felt stressed out. I felt anxious. I wasn't able to hit, maybe deliver to my targets and expectations because I was so tired. I wasn't keeping my eye on the ball because I was, worn out. Or maybe my mood would affect my team. So my team wouldn't be, performing effectively. Like, we can transform the whole of the dynamics of a room, right, through our energy, through our emotions, and the way that we're feeling. Since learning that my human design type and other elements of my human design, it's made me a far better leader. I now have planned my business around my human design. So I know
Okay.
If
Yeah.
I did back-to-back interviews with you today, Kenny, I wouldn't even be able to think. I wouldn't be able to function. So I did a podcast interview this morning, and then I coached a client, and then I had 3 hours rest.
Yeah.
Then I repeated it. Now, I know that that's not I understand if you're working, if you're a manager in corporate, that might not be possible, but look at the way that you work, look at your working day, look at how you can manage your energy more productively
Yes.
in relation to your human design.
Yeah.
There's other aspects as well, for example, my human design, I get my opportunities through other people, so I make sure that I'm kind of around other people, I'm building relationships, I'm collaborating with other people. That helps me to be a more effective leader. There's lots of ways that you can sort of design your work around your human design. And I know that there are some restrictions if you're working for someone else, but it's all completely doable. If I used to head up a big learning and development department within corporate. If I'd known about human design then, I would have infiltrated corporate with it, because it's so, I probably would have called it something different, but it's so good for working in teams and strategy and relationship building within corporate. It's amazing.
Yes. Yes. You broke that down beautifully. You answered that question amazingly. Thank you so much. I want to go back to visibility for a second, and there's 7 steps to being more visible. Could you break that down for us a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the things that we're going to share actually is a free ebook that you can go onto my
Oh,
website
okay.
to download.
Okay.
I hope I'm okay.
Yeah, oh, of course you are. Yes, yes, yes.
Lovely. So I'll provide the link for you so that you
Yes,
can share it with your listeners and your
absolutely.
viewers. But basically what I've done is I've broken it down into 7 steps. And the first step is always human design. If ever I work with a new client one-on-one, or if ever I go into an organization, and I also consult with organizations around their leadership and their team building with human design. But the first thing that we ever do is look at human design. So that will be the first step. And then the second step is really looking at, like, what is it that you want to create? Like, what is it? Why do you want to be visible? There's that wonderful TEDx talk, isn't there, by Simon Sinek, and he wrote a book as well. What's your why?
Yes, yes.
Why do you want to be visible? Is it just because you want to be out there? I'm sure there's a reason behind it. Like, the reason that I want to be visible is that I want more people to have access to human design. I want more people to be visible. I want more people to speak up and have their say and make a difference within the world. So what's your why? Like, what is it that you want to create? One of the steps that's also in that book is all about relationship building and really collaborating with other people, making a difference. So there are 7 steps that are laid out in that. And as I said, it's completely free to download
That's
and
awesome.
to share.
Okay. Okay. Awesome. One other thing I wanted to ask you also, talk about a 5-minute daily habit. What's your recommendation for a 5-minute daily habit?
For visibility.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yes. For
You know
visibility.
what? I am such an advocate and a cheerleader for meditation.
Hmm.
I feel like, sometimes we can be going around in this world and we've got so much to do and we've got so much responsibility, and so needs this done, so needs that done, and I also need to be visible, and I need to, do this and do that. And actually, if we can just sit down and just meditate for 5 minutes, just 5 minutes every day, but really be intentional about it, take some deep breaths.
Hmm.
And as you're meditating, really visualize the way that you want your day to be,
Hmm.
and if you are suffering from that imposter syndrome, really speak into that, with some real powerful affirmations as you're meditating. I am enough. People will want to listen to what I say. I do deserve to have a seat at the table. Just taking those 5 minutes every single day. It's so simple. And I'm sure you've had so many guests on your podcast that have shared a similar thing.
Yeah.
But the reason that it's shared so much is that it's really effective because it gives you the opportunity to step away from the busy and really focus on yourself.
Yes. Okay. Awesome. Awesome. One last question, and then I want to make sure I give you time to let people know how they can get in touch with you, and we'll certainly post that in the show notes and everything. But um, I've got, let's say now I have a leader that has done this, and there's a major change here. Um, how does the team, how in your experience, how do you see the teams responding now? Because now I've got a leader that was kind of middling along here, but now they've gone through a human design, and they, and I'm sure this doesn't take overnight. I'm sure it's a process that takes some time. Certainly with a coach like yourself at their side, they can't go wrong. And now what have you seen that have been results of the team? Or is, because I've got to think that the team is like, all right, we all waking up too now, you know?
It's funny, isn't it? I see it all the time that you don't necessarily have to do anything. The way that you're showing up, the ripple effect, it
Yeah,
affects other people.
yeah,
I think anything that we can do to improve ourselves, to be able to understand ourselves at a deeper level, be able to understand others at a deeper level, and have compassion, is going to have an overall effect, a positive effect on a team.
yeah,
So I see it again and again, in terms of someone that is really focusing on their human design, and they're kind of experimenting with it, because that's what I always say, like, just don't believe a word that I've said on here. Go away and experiment and see what happens with it. They are then seeing the impact that it has within their team, because people respond to you in a different way.
yes, yes,
And
yes.
and this is why I say it's all about relationship building. I mean, I love to go into organizations and work with teams,
Mhm.
right? So that everyone understands human design and everyone can grow together. But it's like you say, everyone will be growing at different levels, and we've all been conditioned at different levels as well.
Mhm. Wow. Abigail, this has been a fascinating topic, and I am so glad I had you on today. This is really fascinating. I'm going to be following you this is I'd love to see more people talking about this. I think really, you mentioned Myers Briggs at the beginning. I think that a lot of leaders really don't know who they are, or even worse, don't know who they want to be. And I think that the human design and visibility, oh my gosh, it sounds to me like, okay, jump on board. So I so appreciate you coming on, but tell folks how they can get in touch with you.
Yes, thank you, Kenny. So the best way to get in touch with me is just to go onto my website, abigailrebecca.com, and you'll be able to find everything on there. You'll be able to follow me on my social media. I hang out quite a lot on Instagram. I love to post on there. I love to go live on there. If you're intrigued about finding out what your human design is, you can download your free human design chart as well on my website.
Okay. All right. Awesome. You heard it here, folks. We're going to leave it there. Abigail, thank you again so much. Again, just a fascinating topic that a lot of my audience, they're going to be like, hey, this was different. Yes, it was different. Absolutely. So, folks, this has been the Leading from the Middle podcast with Kenny and Abigail. We will talk to you real soon. Thanks again, Abigail.